Good morning students. Today we are going to learn about the 10th class first lesson, that is nutrition. So first of all, you all know that food is needed by all living organisms, means plants, animals, humans all need food for their requirement of energy. So energy is needed by all living organisms to perform various activities. So that energy, where we are getting that energy means by taking the food we are getting energy. So here what is meant by nutrition? Nutrition means the process of intake of nutrients or the procuring of nutrients, or the intake of nutrients or the procuring of nutrients we call as nutrition. Means in lower classes you already studied about various nutrients like carbohydrates, fats, proteins, vitamins, minerals. So even in your lower classes you studied about these all type of nutrients. In these the carbohydrates, fats, proteins are we called as macronutrients. Means these three nutrients required by our body in larger quantities. అంటే ఇవి మన బాడీకి large proportionలో కావాలన్నమాట. Coming to vitamins and minerals, we called as micronutrients. Means even vitamins and minerals also required by our body but in very less quantities. That's why we call these nutrients as micronutrients. So we already learned about that. What is meant by nutrition means simply taking of these all nutrients we called as nutrition. So now we are going to learn about what are the types of nutrition. So the nutrition is mainly divided into two types. The first one we called as autotrophic nutrition and the second one we called as heterotrophic nutrition. So all living organisms need food, but the variety of food what they take and the mode of acquiring food is differ by different organisms, and even within the single body also different cells the food requirement and the mode of taking food will be differ. So based on the mode of food how they will prepare, the nutrition is of two types. The first one we call as autotrophic nutrition, the second one we call as heterotrophic nutrition. So first we are going to learn about autotrophic nutrition. So the term auto always refers to the self. The term auto refers to the self. So trophic means nothing but nourishment. What am I? Nourishment. So autotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic nutrition means in nutrition which the organisms are capable of preparing complex food substances or complex organic molecules by simple inorganic raw materials by using light energy is known as autotrophic nutrition. So simply how we can define autotrophic nutrition means the organisms which are capable of preparing their own food. So auto means self, we already know that. So the organisms which are capable of preparing their own food by using simple inorganic raw materials. So such all organisms we called as autotrophs. So the organisms which perform autotrophic nutrition, such organisms we called as autotrophs. So the best example for autotrophs, you already know that all green plants. So all green plants on the earth, all green plants on the earth are the best example for autotrophs. Why? Because autotrophs are the only organisms which prepare their food, which prepare their own food by using solar energy or light energy. So not only green plants, even very few photosynthetic bacteria. What am I? Few photosynthetic bacteria also example for the autotrophs. Okay na? So we already know that what are meant by autotrophs, but how the green plants are able to become as autotrophs means which process make the green plants as autotrophs. So even from previous classes also you studied about that process that is known as a very familiar process known as photosynthesis. What amma? Photosynthesis. So in biology, every term, it including its definition, actually the term photo. So where you are capture your photos in the presence of light only, na, so the term photo refers to light. Synthesis means as in making or preparing. Synthesis means making or preparing. So here the term photosynthesis defines as the process by which all green plants containing a green pigment known as chlorophyll prepare their food material by using CO2 and water in the presence of light energy. So here I can write the definition. What is meant by photosynthesis? Photosynthesis is a process. Photosynthesis is a process by which all green plants containing what they containing means a green pigment known as chlorophyll prepare complex food compounds from simple inorganic materials. Like CO2, water in the presence of light. So photosynthesis is the process by which all green plants containing chlorophyll prepare the complex food compounds or complex food substances from simple inorganic materials like CO2 and water. Where this process occurs means it occurs only in the presence of light. So now we are going to learn about different scientists which come across in the nutrition lessons. So we already learned about what is meant by photosynthesis. First, a scientist known as C.B. Van Neel. Very important. In the year 1931, a scientist known as C.B. Van Neel proposed the equation for photosynthesis. Actually, the first equation for photosynthesis is this is the first equation proposed by the C.B. Van Neel for photosynthesis, but later this equation was modified in the balanced form, that is 6CO2 plus 12H2O gives rise to, you always remember that on the arrow mark you should mention both light and chlorophyll. So 6CO2 plus 12H2O in the presence of light, by using chlorophyll we will get the C6H12O6 plus 6O2 plus 6H2O. Actually this is no need. So this is the balanced equation for photosynthesis. You should always remember this equation: 6CO2 plus 12H2O in the presence of light and chlorophyll, C6H12O6 plus 6O2 plus 6H2O. So here 6CO2 means you already know that carbon dioxide plus water, light and chlorophyll. Here C6H12O6 refers to the glucose and oxygen plus water. So by this equation we will get very simple questions. So by using this equation, first, what are the requirements for photosynthesis? So in this equation, the two things which are left side of the arrow mark, these two are actually requirements. So what are the requirements for photosynthesis means? So requirements for photosynthesis. What we should say? So first one, carbon dioxide. What is the first requirement for photosynthesis means? Carbon dioxide or CO2. Carbon dioxide or CO2. So what is the second requirement? Means water or H2O. And what is the third requirement for photosynthesis? Means light. Here actually which light means? That is sunlight. Even we also call this as solar energy. Students, listen carefully. If you know that equation, if you will get this equation, you will be able to answer many questions. And the one more requirement is a chlorophyll, a green pigment which is present in all green leaves. So here, basing on this equation, what are the 4 necessary materials required for photosynthesis? Means first one carbon dioxide, second one water, third one sunlight or light, and fourth one is chlorophyll. Then coming to what are the products of photosynthesis? What are products of photosynthesis? So what are the products here means? Already by looking this equation you can simply say that the first one, what is the product of photosynthesis means? Glucose. What is the chemical formula of glucose? C6H12O6. And what is the another product? 6O2 means nothing but oxygen. What is the second product? Oxygen, that is nothing but O2. And even little bit amount of water is also produced. So here actually water here we are writing, but that is not much important. Glucose and oxygen are here 2 products. Okay na? Then after that, so now we are going to look about who are remaining scientists in the nutrition lesson. And C.B. Van Eyl, he was the scientist. What I already told to you, C.B. Van Eyl, who proposed the equation for photosynthesis. You can write a notes also, all scientists in this lesson. First one, C.B. Van Eyl proposed equation for photosynthesis. Proposed equation for photosynthesis. And listen carefully, C.B. Van Eyl first conducted experiments. Ante he conducted experiments on what means? He conducted experiments on purple sulfur bacteria. What amma? He conducted many experiments on the purple sulfur bacteria. These are actually one type of photosynthetic bacteria. So by using purple sulfur bacteria, Van Eyl conducted experiment. In this experiment, instead of oxygen, the elemental sulfur is produced. The elemental sulfur is produced. Why elemental sulfur is produced means? Why elemental sulfur is produced means? Instead of water means what? H2O. Instead of water, Van Eyl used hydrogen sulfide means H2S as the starting material. He used instead of water, he used hydrogen sulfide as the starting material. So in the photosynthesis equation, if water is utilized means oxygen is released. But Van Eyl used instead of water, what he used? Hydrogen sulfide. That's why instead of oxygen, elemental sulfur means sulfur was released. So very important. So according to C.B. Van Eyl, light plays an important role in the photosynthesis. C.B. Van Eyl was the first scientist who said the importance of light in the photosynthesis. He conducted experiments on purple sulfur bacteria. In this experiment, he used hydrogen sulfide as the starting material instead of water. In this process, instead of oxygen, the sulfur was evolved. Evolved means produced. If he used water means the oxygen was produced. But what he used? hydrogen sulfide H2S was used, that's why sulfur was produced. Okay, clear? So now we'll chala important. So first my question, who proposed the equation for photosynthesis? What was the answer, amma? C.B. Van Neel. So actually in previous times, mostly in examinations, he questioned on years, but in these most of competitive exam, instead of years, he mostly concentrated on the application, means how much you understand the lesson. He don't directly check your memory. So try to understand each and every term, okay na? Now we will see about remaining scientists. So I already mentioned about one scientist. Who is that? C.B. Van Neel. In the year 1931, give the equation for photosynthesis that is widely accepted by all the scientists. Means that is accepted by all. So the next one, Von Helmont. Who is that, amma? Von Helmont. Actually about this scientist you studied in your class 7. Von Helmont was a scientist. He told the importance of water. What, amma? Von Helmont, by his experiments, he revealed that water plays an important role. Water plays an important role in plant growth and increase in body mass. So Von Helmont, ante if he asked a question, who was the scientist tells about the water plays an important role in plant growth, means who is that, amma? Von Helmont. By conducting the experiments, he revealed that water plays a major role in the plant growth as well as to increase the plant body mass. Then next scientist, the very important, Joseph Priestley. Who is that, amma? Joseph Priestley. In the year 1770, he conducted series of experiments. Series of experiments means one after another. He conducted series of experiments to find out the role of air. What, amma? Role of air on plant growth. Role of air in the process of photosynthesis. So scientist Joseph Priestley, by the series of experiments, he revealed the role of air in the plant growth as well as role of air in the process of photosynthesis. So is really the air is needed for photosynthesis. What we should learn in that equation means CO2 utilized. So CO2 means one of the component in the air only na. So air is necessary or not? Surely the air is one of the major important for photosynthesis. And actually he was a scientist, conducted several experiments about the role of air. I already told to you na. He conducted by several experiments, and in the year 1774, Joseph Priestley, what he discovered means he discovered the oxygen gas. What was discovered, amma? By his experiments in the 1774, oxygen gas was discovered by Joseph Priestley. Oxygen gas was discovered by Joseph Priestley. But actually the name oxygen was not coined by the Priestley. Then who gave the name or who coined the name for the oxygen gas means one more scientist, Lavoisier. Who is that, amma? Lavoisier, a scientist who given the name for oxygen gas as oxygen. Just Priestley discovered that gas as oxygen. But who gave that name for oxygen means Lavoisier. In which year? 1774. So what we should write? He coined the name oxygen. What am I? He coined the name oxygen. Coined means he given that name actually. So in examination maybe he asked, who is the scientist discover the oxygen gas? Means what is your answer? Joseph Priestley. But who given the name oxygen for that gas means that answer is Lavoisier. So you clearly just observe the difference between discovery and name giving. So Lavoisier just given the name for that gas as oxygen, but the oxygen, one type of gas in the air, was discovered by Priestley. So now we are going to learn about remaining scientists. Okay. Next, in the year 1817, two scientists known as Pelletier and Cavendish. Pelletier and Cavendish. These two scientists actually they extract the green color substance from the green leaves and named it as chlorophyll. So actually in the photosynthesis chlorophyll a green pigment is required. So that green color pigment is extracted from the leaves and named it as chlorophyll by two scientists, Pelletier and Cavendish. But Julius von Sachs, who is that amma? Julius von Sachs. He was the scientist who tells about the chlorophyll is not present at the entire plant cell and chlorophyll is only located in the special cell organelle known as chloroplasts. అంటే క్లోరోఫిల్ అనేది సెల్ అంతా కూడా స్ప్రెడ్ అయి ఉండదు, ఓన్లీ క్లోరోప్లాస్ట్లు అనే సెల్ ఆర్గనల్స్లో ఉంటుంది అని ఎవరు చెప్పారు అంటే జూలియస్ వాన్ సాక్స్. అండ్ ఇన్ 1954 వన్ మోర్ సైంటిస్ట్ డేనియల్ ఐ ఆర్నాన్. డేనియల్ ఐ ఆర్నాన్. This scientist, what he proposed means, Daniel I. Arnon actually extracted the chloroplast from the plant cell. Means he gently break up the plant cell and separate the chloroplast from that plant cell. So based on that we able to study all steps of photosynthesis in the chloroplast. So Pelletier and Cavendish extracted the chlorophyll pigment from the leaves and named as chlorophyll. Julius von Sachs, he describes that chlorophyll is located only in the special cell organelle known as chloroplast, and Daniel I. Arnon, he separated the chloroplast from the entire plant cell. So in this lesson we will having some activities. Based on these activities we will get different questions. I briefly and I already studied about these all activities. Now I will say about what are the different questions arising from activity. So first activity he given in the textbook, starch is to test the presence of starch. What is first activity amma? To test the presence of starch. So in that activity what are the different questions you will get means, actually you already know that experiment. First we take the green leaf from the potted plant which is well exposed to sunlight. We keep this leaf in the methylated spirit in the test tube and we boil the leaf in the methylated spirit leaf over a water bath. So from this activity, and after that how can we test the presence of starch means by using iodine solution or betadine solution. Iodine or betadine solution. Iodine or betadine solution we test the presence of starch. By using iodine or betadine solution, whether the leaf containing starch, it changes its color into blue black color. So the blue black color indicates the presence of starch. The blue black color indicates the presence of starch. So whether we want to confirm whether the either leaf or any food material containing starch, we have to pour few drops of iodine or betadine solution over that. Whether it changes into blue black color, it confirms the presence of starch in that food material or in that leaf. And next one more activity he given, carbon dioxide is necessary for photosynthesis. In that activity we also termed as Mohs half-leaf experiment. What we termed amma? Mohs half-leaf experiment. In this Mohs half-leaf experiment we used a special solution or special chemical known as KOH, or very important bit, this one, potassium hydroxide solution. What is that solution amma? Potassium hydroxide solution. Potassium hydroxide solution. Why in the moles half? What is the question you will get from this experiment means why we used potassium hydroxide solution or KOH solution in this experiment means the KOH solution help to absorb the CO2. Help to absorb CO2 in the glass bottle. Help to absorb the CO2 in the glass bottle. So when the CO2 was absorbed by KOH solution, in that bottle there is no CO2. That's why we easily confirm the importance of CO2 in the photosynthesis. So why CO2, why KOH solution used in this experiment means to absorb the CO2 present in the glass bottle. Why we used potassium. And one more activity, oxygen is released during the process of photosynthesis. So for that we use two aquatic plants only we are using. Either mostly in the experiment we use two types of plants, either hydrilla or Elodea plants. These two are aquatic plants. Aquatic plants. Actually already we studied John Ingenhouse. Who is that amma? John Ingenhouse. John Ingenhouse, the scientist who conducted experiments by using these aquatic plants, and what his observation means, in the presence of sunlight small air bubbles were coming out from the test tube, and later he confirmed that what is the gas present in the bubbles was nothing but oxygen. So Priestley he given John Ingenhouse, he given the statement that all green parts of plants carry out process of photosynthesis only in the presence of light. He conducted experiments with aquatic plants like Hydrilla or Elodea, and in that small gas bubbles are coming from that plant after some time, and that gas was nothing but oxygen. And one more scientist, Engelmann in the early 20th century, he noticed that very important, maximum rate of photosynthesis. So Engelmann conducted with Engelmann actually exposed to few strands of algae to the sunlight, and in that sunlight different colors, you know na, Vibgea, different red, blue, violet, these all colors, and he detected that at blue and red light there is maximum rate of photosynthesis takes place. At which light amma? Blue and red light only the maximum rate of photosynthesis occurs. Okay na? So in the blue and red light only, when he after the photosynthesis process, he allow few oxygen sensitive bacteria. That oxygen sensitive bacteria crowded in the presence of blue and red light only. And actually we all thought that green light is very essential for photosynthesis, but that is wrong. Green light is not required for the photosynthesis process. Where photosynthesis occurs at the highest rate means at blue and red light only. Green is always reflected by the leaves. That's why we all see in the leaves and remaining parts as green in color. Okay na? So at which light maximum rate of photosynthesis takes place means red and blue light. Next, mechanism of photosynthesis. What amma? Mechanism of photosynthesis. So in the simple form I write PS means here photosynthesis, mechanism of photosynthesis. In the mechanism of photosynthesis, actually photosynthesis it is a very complex process. It is not directly takes place in a single step. So in the photosynthesis process, actually two types of reactions takes place. The first one we called as light reactions. What we call them? Light reactions. And the second one we called as dark reactions. Dark reactions. So simply I'll explain what are light reactions and what are dark. Light reactions means the reactions of photosynthesis which occur or which need the light energy, which require the light energy, we call as light reactions. And even we also call these light reactions as light dependent reactions. Why? Because means These all reactions actually depend on the light energy. That's why we call light reactions as light dependent reactions. And one more reactions we called as dark reactions. But most of you thought that the dark reactions means those are only will takes place in dark, means that is completely wrong. The term dark reactions refers that these reactions and means some of the photosynthesis reactions will not require the light energy, means they may be occur in the presence of light or in the absence of light, means they occur in the daytime, even in the dark time also. Okay na? But actually these reactions does not need the light energy. So we also call these reactions as light independent reactions. What we call them? Light independent means actually they don't need light energy. That's why light reactions are light dependent and dark reactions are light independent. Maybe he given the question, dark reactions occur in the daytime, in the night time, even both day and night time. What is your answer? Means both. Why? Because they occur at any time, but they don't need light energy actually. So sometimes he maybe confuse you. What are light independent means dark, what are light dependent means light reactions. But technically we also call light reactions. So now we will learn about light reactions. So the light reactions are also called with another name, photochemical phase. What am I? Photochemical phase. So why we call these light reactions as photochemical phase means the light reactions, once the light energy is trapped by the chlorophyll molecule, the light reactions will start. That's why we call these all chemical reactions occur in the presence of light. We call this phase as photochemical phase. So once we want to understand about light and dark reactions, first of all we learnt about the small cell organelle structure that is known as chloroplast. What is that, amma? Chloroplast. Maybe in 9th standard you already studied about chloroplast. Briefly I will tell. So chloroplast is the oval structure. It is made up of actually 3 membranes. How many membranes, amma? 3 membranes. Simply I will tell, we don't have much time. So chloroplast is made up of 3 membranes, and the third membrane of chloroplast is folded into sac-like structure, and each sac-like structure we called as thylakoid. What we call them? Thylakoid. And inside the chloroplast, a fluid-filled portion we called as stroma. What we call? Stroma. And here if you just take 1 rupee coins and place all 1 rupee coins one over another, you just get that stack. Ante oka gumpu dontur laga vastundi kada. In the same way we place thylakoids one over another in the chloroplast. The group of thylakoids we termed as grana. What we call? Grana. Very, very important. Thylakoid is nothing but single structure. But the group of thylakoids are where the thylakoids are arranged one over another. That whole group we called as grana. So the chloroplast mainly 2 parts. The first one is grana and the second one is stroma. So here why we have to discuss about chloroplast structure here means, listen carefully, very, very important. Maybe you'll have a chance to get the question from this session. So the grana is nothing but group of thylakoids. I already told you. So the grana is the place where light reactions of photosynthesis occur, and stroma is the place where dark reactions of photosynthesis occur. Clear? So grana is the place where light reactions of photosynthesis takes place, and stroma is the place where dark reactions occur. Very, very important. And remaining small structures like starch granule, loop of DNA, these all additional structures also present, but we are not discussing here. Mainly we have to remember about only one thing, grana and stroma. Grana is nothing but the third membrane folds, each fold we call as thylakoid, and group of thylakoids we called as grana, and the fluid portion we called as stroma. So I already told you, grana is the place where light reactions takes place. So here we can write that where light reactions occur means in the grana of chloroplast. Where light reactions occur, in the grana of chloroplast. And light reaction mainly include 3 steps. How many steps, 3 steps. So what actually takes place, we discuss briefly. First one, step 1. So in the step 1, the chlorophyll molecule, what amma? Chlorophyll molecule, by absorbing the photons of light energy, become activated. So here I given star symbol means that represent generally activated chlorophyll. So in the light reactions, in the step 1, the chlorophyll molecule, actually where this chlorophyll molecule and remaining other photosynthetic pigments are located means on the membranes of thylakoids. This chlorophyll and other photosynthetic pigments are located. Actually still we are many times we crossed the term chlorophyll. Actually what is chlorophyll means all leaves are green in color. Why those all leaves are green in color means a specific pigment means some color giving substance is present in that leaves. What is that pigment molecule means? Chlorophyll. What is that color pigment? Chlorophyll. Because of that chlorophyll only all leaves of plants appearing green in color. And the chlorophyll not only giving green color, it plays very important role in photosynthesis. That's why even photosynthesis equation also on the arrow mark we written chlorophyll light. So what is the function of chlorophyll? Actually remember carefully, chlorophyll help to trap the sunlight. Chlorophyll molecule help to trap or capture the sunlight energy which is utilized in the process of photosynthesis. Means chlorophyll molecule capture the light energy and help in the photosynthesis process. After the photosynthesis process, the food molecules like glucose, starch, these all are produced. So he given if what is the function of chlorophyll means to trap the light energy or to trap the solar energy. So here in the step 1, the chlorophyll molecule capture the light energy in the form of photons. Actually in chemistry maybe crossed this term. Photons means small energy packets, light energy small units లేదా small packets name అంటామంటే photons అంటాము. So chlorophyll molecules by absorbing photons of light energy become activated. What it done amma? It become activated. Then what is step 2? What happened means in the step 2, the activated energy of chlorophyll molecule, the activated energy of chlorophyll molecule means the chlorophyll receiving the energy from the photons of light and become activated. This light energy help to split the water molecule into 2 respective ions, H plus and OH minus ions. Why? Because water is a molecule, it is composed of 2 ions, H plus ion and OH minus ion. H plus ion ni manam hydrogen ion antamu, OH minus ion ni manam hydroxyl ion అని అంటాం. So here this activated energy of chlorophyll molecule help to split the water molecule into H plus and OH minus ions. But here this step 2 technically also called as, it having 2 names. This one also called as Hill's reaction, and this step is technically called as photolysis. Many times in 1 mark he asked what is meant by photolysis of water. So listen carefully. Photo means light. What am a photo means? Light. Lysis means breakdown. Actually water molecule is breakdown into 2 respective ions by using light energy. So that's why we call this step is photolysis. What is actually breaking down here means water molecule breaking down by using what means the light energy of the photons which is already captured by chlorophyll molecule. So this step what we call photolysis. Sometimes maybe he ask in which reactions photolysis was occur means in the light reactions. Okay, in the photolysis which molecule is breakdown means water molecule. What are the 2 ions means H plus ions and OH minus. And why we call this step as Hill's reaction means a scientist known as Robert Hill. Who is that man? Robert Hill specifically he observes that this reaction and he proposed that water molecule breakdown in the presence of light. Okay, now that's why we also call this reaction as Hill's reaction. Then what is step 3? Step 1, step 2 over, then what is step 3? Coming to step 3. Very simple, in the step 3, the 2 ions of water, H plus ion, OH minus ions are utilized in different equations. First one, coming to OH minus ions. OH minus ions by a series of steps. What are these steps means you will learn about in your higher classes. In different steps OH minus are giving to both water and oxygen molecule. Water is utilized by the plant for itself. O2 is released into the atmosphere. O2 where amma oxygen emotadi గాల్లోకి రిలీజ్ అవుతుంది, అట్మాస్ఫియర్లోకి రిలీజ్ అవుతుంది. సో వాట్ హ్యాపన్ ఇన్ ద థర్డ్ స్టెప్ మీన్స్ ద OH మైనస్ అయాన్స్ ఆఫ్ ది వాటర్ మాలిక్యూల్ బై ఎ సిరీస్ ఆఫ్ రియాక్షన్స్ means by many reactions they will change into water and oxygen. Oxygen is released into atmosphere, water is itself used by the plant body. So Robert Hill what he said means actually in the photosynthesis equation he written that in the products C6H12O6 plus 6O2. So many times this question given in the photosynthesis process water molecule is released from options water, CO2, glucose. So what is your answer means water. So most of you thought that in the CO2 O2 is there now, that's why most students simply they tick the CO2. But from where oxygen was released from OH minus ions only. Now OH minus ions, from where OH minus ions are coming? By splitting of water molecule only now. So in the photosynthesis process the oxygen is released from water molecule, not from CO2. Then what is the changing of CO2 later we will see. Okay na. So in the photosynthesis process oxygen is released from water molecule. That step only we called as photolysis of water, that is discovered by Robert Hill. So this is step 3. So water get utilized and coming to H plus ions. What am H plus ions are used up in the dark reaction. H plus ions used up in the dark reactions. Then by the end of the light reactions two special compounds are formed. What are that? Two special compounds are formed named as ATP and NADPH. ATP and NADPH. Here ATP means adenosine triphosphate. ATP means adenosine triphosphate. NADPH means nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide hydrogen phosphate. So these are the products of light reactions. We call these products as assimilatory powers. What we call them? Assimilatory powers. So ATP and NADPH are the products of light reactions we called as assimilatory powers. And along with ATP and NADPH oxygen is also produced. Okay na. So what are the end products of light reaction ante ATP, NADPH, oxygen. Now we are discussing about dark reactions. So coming to dark reactions, I already told to you light independent reactions, and this term technically called as biosynthetic phase. What we call them? Biosynthetic phase. So in the dark reactions the hydrogen H plus ions of NADPH, H plus ions of NADPH used to combine with the CO2 to form glucose by a series of steps. Dark reactions, what happen actually in dark reaction means hydrogen of the NADPH which is formed in the light reaction, that hydrogen will combine with the carbon dioxide to form glucose. So that's why we call dark reaction as biosynthetic phase. And so plants always by the photosynthesis process they will produce the simplest carbohydrates glucose, but this glucose later stored in the form of either starch and cellulose. Starch and cellulose. Even plants are also able to synthesize other components like proteins, fats also by using the glucose. So here what is the end products of light reactions means ATP, NADPH, oxygen. And what are the end products of dark reaction means glucose. What are the end products of dark reaction? Glucose. Even water is also at the end products of light reaction only. So where dark reactions takes place means in the stroma of the chloroplast. Now we are discussing about heterotrophic nutrition. What amma? Heterotrophic nutrition. So the organisms which are not able to synthesize their own food and depend on other organisms for their food requirement we call as heterotrophic nutrition. Again, in that it include different types. The first one known as saprophytic nutrition. Saprophytic nutrition. Saprophytic nutrition means the organisms which feed on dead and decaying matter or which take nutrients from the dead and decaying matter we called as saprophytic nutrition. So example, yeast, mushroom, bread mold, these all are belong to the fungal category, and these all are actually fungi. So these all are digest the food material outside of their body, and after that the products they will ingest. Means saprophytic organisms, they break down the food material outside of the body mainly by releasing enzymes over the food, and after that they ingest it. So saprophytic nutrition, they play a very important role in clean up our surroundings or cleaning up the environment. Why? Because if you just imagine that if the saprophytes are not present on the earth, all the dead and decaying matter exists on that earth. So it really not good. So that's why saprophytic organisms plays an important role in cleaning up of the environment. So the second one is parasitic nutrition. What amma? Parasitic nutrition. So here parasitic nutrition means the organisms which feed or which derive nutrients from the other organisms without killing them. Means they are unable to prepare their own food. That's why they take or they derive nutrition from the other organisms, but they does not kill that organisms. So parasitic nutrition actually mostly all some animals, like for example lice, tells kada in your head lice are present, it just sucks your blood. Even leech, jalaga antar tells kada, lice, leech, even these two are actually external parasites, means those are not living inside of body, only outside. Coming to tapeworm. What am tapeworm? Tapeworm, this is one intestinal parasite mostly present in the intestine of humans, and it take the digested food by using its villi structure. Okay na? So parasitic organisms derive nutrients from other organisms. Okay na? And coming to parasitic, one plant also there, that plant we called as Cuscuta. What amma? Cuscuta plant. So in the plant category only Cuscuta we give an example for parasitic plant. Coming to animals, lice, leech, tapeworm, even mosquito, housefly, those all are taking nutrients from humans and other animals now. So these all are parasitic, but plants mostly autotrophs. But Cuscuta, one plant known as parasitic plant example. What is the example for parasitic plant amma? Cuscuta. In common language we call it as dodder plant. What we call? Dodder plant. This Cuscuta plant actually does not have chlorophyll. In the Cuscuta plants, the leaves have no chlorophyll, but only in this whole group one plant known as Cuscuta reflexa. What amma? Cuscuta reflexa. It is one plant in the whole family of Cuscuta, and that plant having very little amount of chlorophyll, but most of the Cuscuta plants do not have chlorophyll. So is it possible to make to prepare food by photosynthesis without chlorophyll? Means no, it is impossible. Without chlorophyll, the plants are unable to prepare their food. So then what happen means this Cuscuta will twine over the other plants. Twine means there is like spirals. It will form spirals over any other plant. And by using the special structures, very important, haustoria. What amma? By using a special root-like structures known as haustoria, that Cuscuta plant will extract nutrients and water from the other plant. And in the parasitic nutrition, the organism which take nutrients we called as parasite, and from where it take nutrients we called as host plant. For example, over any plant, this Cuscuta plant spines means that plant we called as host, and this is parasitic plant. So in the Cuscuta plant, what are the important structures? Haustoria. These haustoria is Hausturi are the small root-like structures which help to take nutrients and water from the host plant. So saprophytic, parasitic, and the third we called as holozoic nutrition. What amma? The third one we called as holozoic. Just simply close your eyes and remember how you take the food. So either you eat pizzas, burger, food, water, you just simply ingest into your mouth. So the organisms which take the food, which take the whole food material and break down it inside their bodies, such organisms we call as holozoics, and such type of nutrition we call as holozoic nutrition. Means either any animal, either rabbit, cow, even humans, we all simply taking the complex food material into our mouth and later we break down it by using our digestive systems. Okay na? Such type of nutrition we call as holozoic. Holozoic means we take the food as the whole. So that is holozoic nutrition. And I already told you the food requirements and the mode of taking food will be differ from animal to animal. If you take the unicellular organisms like amoeba, unicellular means you already know that the organism's whole body is made up of a single cell, uniform and same type. So here coming to amoeba, it is example for unicellular organism. Most of the unicellular organism, they take the food through their whole body surface, and amoeba use a finger-like projections of its cell surface known as pseudopodia. What amma? For example, if you draw amoeba like this is shapeless organism actually. These projections, finger-like projections of cell surface we call as pseudopodia. Okay na? By using this pseudopodia, it trap over that food molecule and forming food vacuole over there, and inside the food vacuole it digests the food. Then one more unicellular organism known as paramecium. What amma? Paramecium. So coming to paramecium, so you already know the structure of paramecium. So coming to paramecium, over the surface of the paramecium, small hair-like structures, it have what the hair-like structures we call amma? Cilia. So by help of the cilia, actually paramecium not taken the food through entire surface. It specifically takes food at one particular place. That place we called as cytostome. Ante simply you have whole body, but through which part you are taking or ingesting food means through mouth. In the same way, paramecium ingests the food at specific spot. That spot we called as cytostome. What we call a cytostome. So if it found food anywhere, by using that cilia, that food will be moves to cytostome. Clear? Amoeba, by using pseudopodia of its cell surface, it takes the food. Coming to paramecium, it specifically ingests food at one spot known as cytostome. So the food is moved to that cytostome with the movements of small hair-like projections called as cilia. Sorry. Now we are entering into the most interesting and important digestive system, that is nothing but our digestive system, means human digestive system. What amma? Human digestive system. Coming to humans, we are eating variety of food items daily. So no limit for that actually. But so to digest all type of food materials, we require a special system that is called as digestive system. So our digestive system is also known as alimentary canal. What we can call alimentary canal. Alimentary canal actually a long tube-like structure, and it starts from mouth. From which part it starts? From mouth, and it extends up to anus. Means what is the first part of digestive system? Means mouth. What is the last part of digestive system? Anus. So technically we call digestive system as alimentary canal. What we call alimentary canal. So now I show the picture of digestive system. So listen carefully. So here this is digestive system or alimentary canal of humans. So first starts with the mouth, and that mouth, after that mouth it having a tube-like structure known as esophagus or food pipe. Then after that, that esophagus enters into a bag-like structure known as stomach, and that stomach connects to the highly coiled structure in our body known as small intestine. That small intestine connects to the another structure known as large intestine. Large intestine finally ends into rectum, opens outside through the small pore known as anus. Okay, I will show you. Then now we will learn about for rough idea actually. So first our digestive system starts with mouth. So coming to we'll learn about how the digestion takes place in the mouth. So the space inside the mouth we called as oral cavity. What we call oral cavity or buccal cavity. What we call oral cavity or buccal cavity. So in the mouth mainly you have teeth. Teeth help to cut and crush the food, and tongue help to push the food easily and help to thoroughly help mix the food with the liquid known as saliva. So in the mouth a special juice released into the buccal cavity or oral cavity. What we call that means saliva. Saliva is released by 3 pairs of salivary glands. What 3 pairs of salivary glands. So these 3 pairs of salivary glands, one is located at the side of the jaw, and one is below the tongue, and one is at the palate, means roof of our mouth. That saliva, what is the function of saliva means, saliva contain an enzyme known as amylase. So this amylase present in the saliva, that's why we also call this enzyme as salivary amylase. And this salivary amylase, it also having another name known as ptyalin. Listen carefully, saliva contain an enzyme known as salivary amylase. Salivary enzyme is also called as ikkada P silent anamata, ptyalin antam. Emantama ptyalin antam. Once if you hear at any time in digestive system, if you write the name amylase, means it specifically acts on which food substance, means carbohydrates. So this amylase act on the carbohydrates. It act on the carbohydrates and convert carbohydrates into maltose. What is the action of salivary amylase or ptyalin means? Salivary amylase break down the carbohydrates into maltose. So what are the questions in the mouth means, for example, how many salivary glands are there? 3 pairs. And what is the enzyme present in the saliva? Salivary amylase, it is also known as ptyalin. On which food substances salivary amylase acts means only on carbohydrates. And salivary amylase converts carbohydrates into maltose. Okay na? Next coming to esophagus. So this tube-like structure we called as esophagus. This is also known as food pipe. What we call food pipe antam. Okay na? And before going to that food pipe, actually one structure very important. So this one we called as pharynx. So here pharynx is the common passage for both air and food, means what the air we are breathe through our nose and what the food we are taking through our mouth, both enter into pharynx in the same way. But after that food will be enter into the esophagus or food pipe, and the air will be taken into another route known as windpipe. Okay na? So to avoid the passage of food into air windpipe, a special structure is present in the pharynx that we called as epiglottis. Very very important. What is the structure? Help to prevent the entry of food particles into the windpipe means epiglottis. What is that structure, amma? Epiglottis. And coming to esophagus, it is just a narrow tube like structure. In this there is no digestion takes place. Here the food is moved by a wave like movements. That wave like movements we called as peristaltic movements. What we call? Peristaltic movements. So where, in which part of the digestive system peristaltic movements occur means in the esophagus or food pipe. So one more question, in the mouth which food components only digest means carbohydrates. There is no digestion of proteins and fats, starts at the mouth. Okay na? Coming to stomach. Coming to stomach. Stomach is a bag like structure, and in that mainly a juice is secreted by walls of stomach known as gastric juice. What amma? Gastric juice. In that an enzyme known as pepsin and HCl both are present in the gastric juice. Coming to pepsin, it acts on the proteins, means it helps to digest the proteins into peptones. So the enzyme present in the gastric juice of the stomach act on the proteins and convert them into peptones. HCl help to create the acidic medium for the digestion of protein, and it also help to kill any germs or bacteria present in our food. What is the function of HCl means? It creates acidic medium. That acidic medium enables the better digestion of proteins and to activate the pepsin enzyme also. And one more important function of hydrochloric acid is nothing but it helps to disinfect the food by killing any harmful pathogens or germs present in the food. And here coming to stomach, so maybe question, where digestion of carbohydrates starts in our digestive system means mouth. Amylase converts carbohydrates into partially digested forms known as maltose. But where first time the protein digestion starts means in the stomach. Where protein digestion starts means in the stomach. And where hydrochloric acid released means in the stomach only. And what is the enzyme present in gastric juice means pepsin. It acts on which food substance means proteins and convert them into peptones. And what is the next important part means small intestine. What is that, amma? Small intestine. And listen carefully, it is the longest part of your digestive system. Longest part, not largest part. For example, if you just imagine that your whole digestive system is 9 meters long, the alimentary canals is 9 meters long, in that mostly the 7 meters is occupied by the small intestine only. But this is highly coiled structure. So how you just, for example, how you roll the water pipe, in the similar way the small intestine is highly coiled and embedded in that small space also. Why that is highly coiled means to enable maximum digestion and maximum absorption. Okay na? For example, if the pipe is in the without any folds, if you just pour the water is easily passed away to down. But if it is highly coiled means the water remains for some time in that pipe. In the same way even here also takes place. Small intestine is the longest part, and here very very important, actually I drawn rough diagram. This U-shaped part we call as duodenum. What we call duodenum. And this we call as liver, and this called as pancreas. Actually this duodenum is the first part of small intestine. This duodenum is the first part of the small intestine, and the secretions means the juices of liver and the juices of pancreas both will be entered into where, into the duodenum of the small intestine. Listen carefully. So the liver as well as the pancreas send their secretions or send their juices into small intestine. Actually the duodenum is nothing but the first part of the small intestine. Okay na? So now we will talk first about liver. What liver. So the liver is the largest gland in the human body. So what is the largest organ in your body means skin. Skin covers whole throughout your body. But what is the largest gland in your body means liver. Liver is the largest gland. Then here the liver produce a juice known as, it is bile juice. Don't write liver juice, it is bile juice. What is that, amma? Bile juice. Then what is the function of bile juice means, actually coming to food nutrients like carbohydrates, proteins, fats. In these three, fats are the highly complex food nutrients, highly complex food components. So to digest fats, it is very difficult task. That's why the bile juice help to it help to convert the larger fats into small fat globules. That process we known as emulsification. What we called emulsification. So here what is the function of bile juice means, that is known as emulsification of fats. What is meant by emulsification? Conversion of larger fats into small fat globules. Globules means small particles, చిన్న రేణువులాగా మారుస్తుంది అనమాట. దాన్ని ఏమంటాము? ఎమల్సిఫికేషన్ అంటాము. ఇక్కడ చూడండి, లివర్లో ఒక బల్బ్ లైక్ స్ట్రక్చర్ ఉంది కదా, దాన్ని గాల్ బ్లాడర్ అంటాము. ఇన్ దిస్ గాల్ బ్లాడర్ దట్ బైల్ ఈస్ టెంపరరీ స్టోర్డ్. వాట్ ఈస్ ది స్ట్రక్చర్ అమ్మా? గాల్ బ్లాడర్. సో వాట్ ఈస్ ద బైల్ జ్యూస్ ప్రొడ్యూస్డ్ ఇన్ ద లివర్ ఈస్ టెంపరరీ స్టోర్డ్ at the gallbladder. So the next one coming to pancreas. So in the liver, what process actually takes place means, only emulsification of fats takes place. The next coming to pancreas. Liver ni largest gland అని అంటున్నాం కదా, అలాగే pancreas ni mixed gland అంటాం. What we call mixed gland. Why? Because it produces both hormones as well as enzymes. So pancreas produce a hormone known as insulin, glucagon. So this insulin is very important. This insulin, maybe you heard the term that many sugar patients, they are daily taking insulin injections. So here the insulin hormone help to control the sugar level in your blood. What its function amma? Insulin hormone help to control the sugar level in the blood. If the insulin is not produced in the sufficient quantity, means not released in the sufficient amount, it leads to raise in your blood level or to increase your blood sugar level, not blood level, blood sugar level. So that condition we called as, what we call that condition? What we call that condition means diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus. In common language we called it as sugar disease అని అంటుంటాం కదా, చాలా మంది ఎల్డర్స్కి వింటుంటారు కదా మీరు. So diabetes mellitus. Why diabetes mellitus was occur in patients means, because in that persons the insulin is not produced in the sufficient quantity. That's why it lead to increase in the sugar level of their blood. That condition we called as the sugar or diabetes mellitus. And coming to, actually this is not related to here. Pancreas secretes a juice. Pancreas secretes a juice known as pancreatic juice. That pancreatic juice contain 3 enzymes: amylase, lipase and trypsin. Amylase, lipase and trypsin. So here amylase convert carbohydrates into maltose, lipase converts fats into fatty acids plus glycerol. Lipase converts fats into fatty acids plus glycerol. Fatty acids plus glycerol. And trypsin, it is also an enzyme, act on proteins. What am it? Act on proteins and convert them into peptones. It act on proteins and convert them into peptones. So pancreatic juice contain 3 type of enzymes: amylase, lipase, trypsin. Trypsin act on proteins and convert them into peptones. Lipase acts on fats and convert them into fatty acid plus glycerol. Amylase act on carbohydrates. So which gland we called as mixed gland amma? Which gland? Which gland we called as mixed gland? Next, small intestine. So very important, small intestine is the part of digestive system where complete digestion of all food components takes place. Where complete digestion of all food components takes place. అంటే డైజెస్టివ్ సిస్టంలో మొత్తం డైజెషన్ కంప్లీట్గా జరిగే ప్రాసెస్ ఎక్కడ జరుగుతుంది అంటే స్మాల్ ఇంటెస్టైన్లో జరుగుతుంది. స్మాల్ ఇంటెస్టైన్ ప్రొడ్యూస్ ఏ జ్యూస్ నోన్ యాజ్ ఇంటెస్టైనల్ జ్యూస్. We also call that juice as succus entericus, and that intestinal juice also contain amylase. That intestinal juice, it help to convert all partially digested food into their simplest forms. It having an enzyme known as peptidase. What am I? Peptidase. It converts peptones or peptides into amino acids. And already I told you, lipase in the pancreas, lipase converts lipids into fatty acids plus glycerol. And here one enzyme known as sucrase. What? Sucrase. So it converts a complex sugar known as sucrose into simplest sugar known as glucose. So, and lipase. Lipids and fats both are same only. So when the food components converted into these forms, we can say that there is process of digestion completed. So here peptidase enzyme partially converted proteins or peptides into amino acids, and sucrase, for example here lactose given means the enzyme is lactase. Sugar lo aithe O vastadi, enzyme ki vachetappadiki A vastadi. If we ask what is the enzyme act on lactose ante enzyme vachetappadiki lactase. If maltose aithe maltase. Alage sucrose, these all are different type of sugars anamata. Sucrose means sucrase. Sugar అయితే O వస్తుంది, సేమ్ O ప్లేస్లో ఏ పెడితే అది ఏమవుతుంది, దానిపైన యాక్ట్ చేసి ఎంజైమ్ అవుతుంది. ఏదైనా ప్రోడక్ట్ ఎప్పుడు అల్టిమేట్గా ఏ రావాలంటే గ్లూకోజ్ రావాలి. వై? బికాస్ గ్లూకోజ్ ఈజ్ ద సింప్లెస్ట్ కార్బోహైడ్రేట్ ఆర్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ద సింప్లెస్ట్ షుగర్. దెన్ లైపేస్ finally convert fats or lipids into fatty acids plus glycerol. So up to here digestion completed. So where all type of food components are digested means what is the answer? Small intestine. What is the answer? Small intestine. Then coming to large intestine. What is that? So large intestine is the part after small intestine. In the large intestine actually there is no digestion takes place, but before going to large intestine, in the small intestine after digestion completed, there is another process also takes place that we called as absorption. What we call absorption means the digested food products are enter into the blood through the small finger-like projections of small intestine. That finger-like projections we called as villi. Through the villi of small intestine, the digested food products like amino acids, glucose, fatty acids plus glycerol are enter into the bloodstream. That process we called as absorption. Ante kalisipovam anamata. Then coming to large intestine, here digestion already completed, absorption also takes place. So the undigested food enter into the large intestine. So in that large intestine, the excess water absorbed. What happened in the large intestine? The excess water in the undigested food is get absorbed. Undigested food contains still some amount of excess water that is absorbed in the large intestine. After that the semi-solid fecal matter is formed. That hard matter will be sent to a small chamber known as rectum. In that rectum it is temporarily stored, and finally through the anus it is expelled out or it is sending out. So here digestion completed. And malnutrition. Malnutrition means taking of diet that does not have either one or more nutrients. So malnutrition means taking of diet that does not contain either one nutrient or more nutrients. Again it is of two types, three types. First one we call as protein malnutrition. What amma? Protein malnutrition. The second one we called as protein calorie malnutrition. Protein calorie malnutrition and calorie malnutrition. So protein malnutrition, protein calorie malnutrition, calorie malnutrition. Now we will see what are diseases associated with protein and protein calorie malnutrition. So the disease associated with protein malnutrition we called as kwashiorkor. What we call amma? So don't confuse. If the disease related to only protein malnutrition means kwashiorkor. If the disease related to protein calorie malnutrition means marasmus. Ante if the diet does not having only proteins, it lead to a condition called as kwashiorkor. So the children mainly the kwashiorkor, why the malnutrition diseases we see means the people which are having the first reason for that is poverty and lack of awareness and repeated childbirth. These all are the reasons for malnutrition diseases. In the kwashiorkor disease, the children mainly become in that kwashiorkor people there is poor muscle development. Muscles are not grown well and they are having swollen limbs. Limbs means hands and legs are become swollen, and it also they are mostly frequently prone to diarrhea. Diarrhea means water loss, even dry skin. These all are symptoms. Kwashiorkor people or children always having swollen limbs, poor muscle development, diarrhea, dry skin. These all are symptoms for kwashiorkor. Next coming to protein calorie, I already told you, protein calorie means if the diet does not having both proteins and carbohydrates and fats, the such type of condition we call as marasmus. What we call marasmus. In the textbook given pictures also, kwashiorkor people mainly having fluffy face and belly like stomach, ante like moon like belly, ante stomach become swollen. But coming to marasmus children, he is very lean and weak, means the ribs are clearly visible. There is no muscle development, very poor muscle development. Where we see mainly marasmus means especially in villages which are immediate childbirths. Immediate childbirths means there is less gap between one child to another child. In such cases the children mainly suffer with the marasmus disease. Here also very poor muscle development, swollen joints of the limbs become swollen, diarrhea, dry skin here also common. But compared to kwashiorkor child, marasmus child is still very poor, lean and weak. Okay na? And next one more, nowadays most of the children suffer with a condition called as obesity. Obesity means you already know that having more junk foods or having more fat rich foods, there is no proper physical exercise. So the child become obese means become fat. He is unable to doing his work, and in the future maybe he maybe have the chance to get heart problems, even kidney, those all diseases. That's why taking enough diet and proper physical exercise are very important to maintain the healthy body. And the next one we seen about, I already mentioned about vitamins. What am vitamins? Vitamins are micronutrients, or vitamins are nothing but organic molecules, and we call them as micronutrients. Why? Because they are required in very less quantities. Even though they are required in less quantities, for major functioning of different parts, our vitamins are very, very important. Mainly the vitamins are present in all the food items, especially fruits, vegetables, meat, eggs, milk. These all are having variety of vitamins. And vitamins are mainly of two types based on their solubility. First one we call as water soluble vitamins. What we call them? Water soluble vitamins. Ante the vitamins which are soluble in water. So for that example, vitamin B complex, అంటే mostly in medical shop you are asking B complex tablet B means here it including many B vitamins from B1 B2 B6 like that. That's why we call that whole vitamins as B complex. Vitamin C also come under water soluble, and one more category is there, that is fat soluble. What am I? Fat soluble. So vitamin A, D, E, K are come under fat soluble. Listen carefully. Only BC are water soluble vitamins, and remaining vitamin A, D, E, K are fat soluble. Only BC only water soluble. Remaining A vitamin, D vitamin, E vitamin, K vitamin are fat soluble. And if we are not taking these vitamins through our diet in proper quantities, it lead to some deficiency diseases. Deficiency means if we are taking that nutrient or that vitamin less quantity, it lead to a condition called as deficiency disease. First, very important, first one we call as vitamin B1. What we call vitamin B1. These vitamins and deficiency diseases. Vitamin B1, what is the chemical name for vitamin B1? Thiamine. What is the chemical name for vitamin B1? Thiamine. So coming to thiamine, what is the deficiency diseases means beriberi. What is that beriberi? If the diet having less amount of vitamin B1, that condition called as beriberi. So that's why we have to avoid the eating of polished rice. That polished rice is lack of vitamin B1. So if we take the whole the grains, means unpolished rice means that is having good source of these B vitamins. Then coming to vitamin B2, that is riboflavin. What is that riboflavin? If that riboflavin is less in our food, it lead to a condition called as glossitis. What is that? Glossitis. In the glossitis, this is mainly we see in that mouth cracks at corners, red and sore tongue. These all are vitamin B2 deficiency, glossitis. Coming to vitamin B3. What is vitamin B3? This one we called as niacin. What is the chemical name of vitamin B3? Niacin. So if niacin is less in a diet, it lead to a disease known as pellagra. What is that? Pellagra. సో ఇంకా సింపుల్గా రామ్ గోపాల్ వర్మ మీకు గుర్తుంటుంది కదా, రైబోఫ్లేవిన్ అంటే గ్లోసైటిస్, ఇది పెన్ అని గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి, పెల్లగ్రా రిలేటెడ్ టు నియాసిన్. సో విటమిన్ B3 తర్వాత దెర్ ఈస్ నాట్ ఇమీడియట్లీ విటమిన్ B4. ఆఫ్టర్ విటమిన్ B3 యాక్చువల్లీ విటమిన్ B6. వాట్ ఈస్ దట్ విటమిన్ B6. వాట్ ఈస్ విటమిన్ B6 మర్చిపోయాను. ఎనీమియా. ఫోలిక్ యాసిడ్. వాటమ్మా విటమిన్ B6 డెఫిషియన్సీ లీడ్ టు ఎనీమియా. ఎనీమియా అంటే తెలుసు కదా, వెరీ అంటే లెస్ హీమోగ్లోబిన్, బ్లడ్ ఈజ్ లెస్ ఇన్ దే, దట్స్ వై దే ఆర్ వెరీ లీన్. దెన్ నెక్స్ట్ కమింగ్ టు విటమిన్ B12. వాటమ్మా విటమిన్ B12 సైనోకోబాలమిన్. Cyanocobalamin, actually this is a vitamin synthesized by bacteria present in our intestine. These all vitamins are supplied through our diet, but vitamin B12 is not supplied through our diet, it is synthesized by bacteria present in our gut or intestine. So even cyanocobalamin deficiency also lead to anemia, but that anemia we called as pernicious anemia. What we call pernicious. Next, biotin. What biotin. Biotin leads to, deficiency of biotin leads to nervous disorders. What nervous disorders. And next, pantothenic acid. Pantothenic acid. This pantothenic acid is deficient in our food, it lead to a condition called as burning feet. What burning feet. Next, okay, biotin and folic. One more water soluble vitamin is there, that is known as ascorbic acid. What is that, amma? Ascorbic acid. This we called as vitamin C. Vitamin C chemical name ascorbic acid. If the vitamin C is less in our diet, it lead to the condition scurvy. Actually in this scurvy it is delay in healing of wounds. Ante if any damage or wounds happen, there is more time to heal that wounds if the vitamin C is less. And vitamin C also help to improve our immunity or resistance power. About fat soluble vitamins. So the first one we called as fat soluble vitamin A. Vitamin A chemical name is retinol. What amma? Retinol. So if the vitamin A is less in our diet, it lead to mainly eye and skin diseases. What? Eye and skin diseases like night blindness, xerophthalmia, cracked skin. These all are the deficient vitamin A conditions. Next to vitamin D. Vitamin A is mainly present in all green leafy vegetables and fruits like papaya, carrot. These all, especially vitamin E is helpful for best vision. And coming to vitamin D. Vitamin D chemical name is calciferol. What amma? Calciferol. And vitamin D is present in foods like even milk, egg, these also. But vitamin D major source is the sunlight. Means early morning rays sunlight is the best source for vitamin D. And if the calciferol is less, it lead to a condition called as rickets. Means in some people that bones are become very weak and those are unable to walk properly. Okay, na bones become weak and fragile, knocked knees. And coming to vitamin E, we called as phylloquinone. Sorry, tocopherol. What amma? Tocopherol. So vitamin E we called as anti-sterility vitamin. What? Anti-sterility vitamin. If the vitamin A is less in our diet, it lead to the condition known as sterile disorders. Means abortions in females, sterility in man. Those all conditions. Next coming to vitamin K, phylloquinone. What amma? Phylloquinone. If vitamin K is less in our diet, it lead to delay in blood clotting. Means for general people it nearly take 3 to 4 minutes to clot the blood after an injury. But if the vitamin K is less in that people, it takes much time to delay to clot the blood. Delay in blood clotting. So once we again revise about vitamin deficiency diseases. Vitamin A chemical name వచ్చే retinol, and the deficiency diseases mainly eye diseases and skin diseases. Eye diseases like night blindness, xerophthalmia, these all. Coming to vitamin D, it is known as chemical name calciferol, and vitamin E chemical name tocopherol. Vitamin D deficiency condition lead to a disease known as rickets, and vitamin E deficiency disease known as sterile disorders. And vitamin K phylloquinone, this is if the phylloquinone is less in our diet, it lead to a condition called delay in blood clotting. It take more time to clot the blood. Thank you.